We're down to the final table and Lee LJF Aces. Fenn is our current chip leader. He's got a big chip stack, he's got big talent, but hot on his heels come Donnie Jack Marler and Gab 1988. They're going to be gunning for him right now because there's a place in history, not to mention $20,000 at stake for the winner. So let's go over to Colin, Dansky and James 666 to catch up with the action.
This is it, the final table of PKR Live. We started with 150, now we're down to just 10. Our very own Dan Grant's on the floor, ready to introduce the players.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have reached that moment in the evening. Yes, indeed, it's the final table of PKR Live IV. These 10 gentlemen are playing for a first prize of $20,000. Please give them a warm welcome. It's Specker in seat 1 from the Netherlands with 132,500 chips. In seat 2 with 112,000 chips from the UK, it's Wizards. In seat 3 from the Netherlands with 195,500 chips, it's Mikey 80. In seat 4 from Italy with 181,500, it's Donnie Jack Marler. From the UK with 58,000 in chips, in seat 5 it's JJ Bird 22. And in seat 6, also from the UK, the chip leader with 327,500 is LJF Aces. In seat 7 from France with 112,000 chips, it's Popey 777. In the 8th seat from the UK with 71,500 chips, it's Lemo 120. In seat 9 from Hungary with 190,000 chips, it's Gab 1988. And rounding off our final table this year with 95,000 chips, in the 10 seed, it's Goof 118 from the UK. Ladies and gentlemen, let's wish them all the best of luck. Let's shuffle up and deal.
Well, a very Michael Buffer-esque introduction there from Dan Grant. He's going to be joining us soon. I'm Colin Morris, here with James Sudworth, the PKR Pro. You excited about this one, James?
I am. I'm really looking forward to this because I've played most of the players at this table myself, and those who I haven't, I'm going to be playing shortly online. So it's going to be great to see how they play, what they play like. It's going to be awesome. Some of them really good players on here.
So beware, James is taking notes. Look at that pocket queens right off the bat for LJF Aces. Pops a raise in. Lines at 4,000, 8,000 here. 23 grand from LJF Aces. Think he's going to get a customer, James?
Looking from it, we can see ace-twos, but the only worry is now that when we get to the blinds, the cards just aren't good enough to play post-flop out of position. So like the 7-8 is a great flop to see when you're deep stacked in position, but out of position you really want to let it go. And with King-9, again, you're in such a bad shape against the King-Queen, Ace-King style hands that are raising from early position, or indeed queens, that there's really no point getting involved so early out of position. And as we see, it was a correct fold.
Yeah, LJF Aces scoops up the blinds just in time for Dan Grant to join us in the studio. Excellent introduction earlier, Dan. Congratulations.
Thank you, Colin. What's up, James?
What's up, Dan?
Well, I think this is going to be an interesting one for one or two reasons. 2 or 3 players I would go to straight away as dangers at this final table. Donnie, of course, we've seen him play already. He's a tricky customer. You've some experience of him already, James.
I've had my run-ins with him. He's really aggressive. It's hard to play against. You just really need to try and put the pressure on as much as possible and hope he cracks. Unfortunately, we were both fairly short-stacked on the last table, and he busted me on the bubble. So that's why he's now on this final table, not me.
But I mean, it's great to have a guy like that, a real action player at a final table. You know that he's either going to get a ton of chips or he's going to donk them off.
That's it. All the players here are just going to be hoping that someone else knocks him out early. None of them are going to want to take the risk.
Well, sorry guys, sorry to interrupt, but we've got an all-in here from Wizard, holding the ace-jack. It's 40 grand from him, and guess what? Mikey's sat right beside him with ace-queen. All in over the top goes Mikey.
As we see here, this is all pretty standard stuff here. The ace-jack has to jam. He's only got 5 big blinds, so he's going to get it in.
Real shake of the head from Wizard here. He knows that there's absolutely no way that he's in good shape here, and the reason he knows that is because Mikey is a pretty solid player here, and there's absolutely no way he's going to be doing it with a lower ace or any kind of small pair, so he's not too happy.
The isolating raise from Mikey does its job. The two are heads up. And Wizard sees the bad news there. He's dominated.
Good news for the other guys at the table, though. This is the kind of thing as a medium stack you want to be seeing earlier on. If you're not getting big hands, wow.
Well, that's not good news for those players who maybe were looking forward to Wizard leaving the table. The jack comes out on the flop.
He's begging for his jack to hold.
And that does the business. Wizard lives to fight another day. I suppose you got to get lucky in these, don't you, James?
Yeah, well, that spot was it was fairly standard. The ace-jack is always going to go all in there with his stack size, and the ace-queen is always going to come over the top. And unfortunately for Mikey, he loses his 70%er. But that's how poker goes.
It doesn't just happen online, eh?
So psychologically now, what does Mikey have to do to recover from this moment? Or is he just going to find it easy to brush that off?
I think Mikey's pretty solid. He's not going to worry. It wasn't too big a pot. He only lost about 5 or 6 big blinds in that hand. So he's not going to be too worried. He's still got a nice stack that he can play with.
Yeah, I think like 40K of his, or maybe 40K of his 150K. So he's still in there. He's got, I mean, yeah, blinds, you're right. They're pretty big. I mean, really, it's just a matter at the beginning of this final table of just surviving, you know, not getting busted out. You've always got a chance. I mean, the number of times I've seen someone come in with like the 5th or 6th or 7th or even 8th biggest stack find their way to heads up is astonishing.
Well, Donnie makes a little move there with his 8-10. Answered pretty quickly by JJ Bird. All in for almost 100,000 chips with ace-king suited. What's LJF Aces thinking here with pocket 10s?
It's a pretty tough spot. He knows that Donnie Jack Millar is going to be making some raises fairly light, and he's probably not going to call. But for JJ to go all in over the top, he's going to have a decent hand. So at minimum, he's going to have something like ace-jack or pocket pairs. The only hand that LJF is really beating is something like 9s or 8s, which JJ is pushing all in with. He's behind against any pair higher than 10s, and he's also only flipping against ace-king, king-queen, ace-queen, any sort of hands like that. So it's whether he wants to take the gamble or not.
Well, he does want to take the gamble, announcing all in. Almost 300,000 chips going into the middle now. He's in great shape against Donnie's 8-10, but as James mentioned earlier, he's facing a coin flip against JJ Bird. This is going to be fascinating. The 3-8 gets out of the way, saying he's got nothing to do with this.
We have another rule in the final table. It's JJ Bird 22 once again. This time he's in with ace, king of hearts.
Huge hand here.
And he's up against the chip leader, LJF Aces in 10s.
Instead of coming for the win, he said he's coming for the win.
And there are 2 kings right off the bat. That's great news for JJ Bird. No spades and LJF Aces hand to help him out. He's going to need a miracle now. Well, gets a few cheers from the table, or the rail maybe.
I know Jamie personally. He's a good friend of mine, and he's got a lot of support behind him in that table, so that's going to really help him in the tough spots. When people are cheering for you and you know they've got your back, you tend to make the right decisions at the right times, rather than when no one wants you to go further.
You ever had that feeling in a tournament where you're surrounded by people who maybe don't want to see you do well?
I have definitely had that feeling. When you're against someone who's got lots of friends or poker players who know them and they're all railing him, it's really intimidating.
Blind still at 4,000, 8,000.
Yeah, I know Jamie's also spent a bit of time talking with Vinny, who busted out the semi-final table, who of course is the reigning champion. Good friends, and perhaps he's picked up a few tips for how to play a PKR Live main event final table.
Yeah, Vince is always happy to talk poker. There's Lemo, making it 20 grand with ace-8 suited. Wizard's already had some pretty good luck with ace-jack. Do you think he's going to feel a certain affinity with that hand?
Well, we may not get to find out. The big man from Hungary, the first time he's ever left Hungary was to fly to London to play this event. And Gab has, it looks like, made a 3-bet here. And wow, James, how do you like that?
That was unexpected. I wasn't... I didn't think he was going to be the one that was doing that. I thought Goof might have done something, or indeed Wizard. But no, I think it's great. It's taking the advantage. We've only seen Gab play premium hands so far, so it's been quite solid. So it's nice to see he actually has something else in his arsenal as well. Doing something like this with his stack size is good because he's not pot committed. It's not like he's just 3-betting all in willy-nilly. He can raise, fold here if someone jams, and the other player is not going to call, especially when out of position, unless they have a real monster.
Well, and he's already chased the best hand off this pot. Wizard folding his ace-jack.
This is really fascinating stuff. Lemo, from what we've seen, I mean, in the last show, we saw him 3-bet 4 high pre-flop. And, of course, he ran into Lee's nut straight. But still, we know for a fact he has got game here. But he's up against a player who has also got game. So I really have no idea what's going to happen here. Lemo moves all in. He feels his ace is good. Oh, and Gab makes the call. It doesn't take him too long, and we have a really weird all-in situation.
Yeah, as it was with these stack sizes, Gab was pretty pot committed after he made that raise, so he had to call. And Lemo made a good decision going all in with the ace-8 here.
And the grin from the Hungarian. Wow, he doesn't mind. He's live.
Yes, he's got 2 live cards. Lemo, ace high. In the lead before the flop. 241,000 chips at stake. Gab takes the lead with the 3 on the flop. Lemo looking a little bit sick as the 7 comes out. And the 6 gives Lemo no help whatsoever. Gab, 1988, one of the funkiest moves we've seen at this tournament, pays off in the end. Well, and a bit of a shocker there for Lemo, and you can see it in his face. He's not happy at all.
Lemo, come on in, my love. Lemo, first person out on the final table representing the UK. I know. Give us a little bit of what happened, babe.
Well, I had Gab 8-8 to my left, and he's been 3-betting us light all day, so I just shoved it all in. He had king 3 and had nothing, but what are you going to do?
Exactly, but how have you found the whole experience here? I believe it's your first PKR Live, one of your first live tournaments in general.
It's been a great weekend, really. Everyone's been really friendly. Been lots of fun, really.
Good, and you play a lot online mainly?
Yeah, just online, really. I don't really play live that much, but I qualified for this, so thought.
First qualifying, or did you do a few?
First time qualifying. I'd bubbled all the old ones, so it was nice to get in first time for once.
Oh, excellent. Is there anybody left now on the table that you're going to tip for the top?
JJ Bird, I've got on with him this weekend, and hopefully he can win it.
Fellow Brit.
Exactly, yeah. Or win it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Go get yourself a well-deserved drink and enjoy the rest of the weekend, okay?
Cheers.
Cheers.
Well, a shock exit for Lemo 120, a.k.a. Matthew Lemons. Leaves us with 9 players. And Gabo 1988 with a nice little chip stack now. What's that going to do to the vibe on the rest of the table?
Well, I think once he's got a big stack like this, then other people are going to get scared of him. Although they've just seen him free bet with King 3, they don't really want to come back at him with aggression because they know that he's capable of going all in with such a hand as King 3. So they really need to wait for hands before they can start being aggressive, or make the bet so small that they can still fold if he jams. It's going to be quite hard to play a guy like this.
Yeah, I guess you make one of two decisions. Do you think I'll take the guy on even if I don't have a monster hand, and maybe this is my chance to make some chips, this guy?
Sorry, Dan, another all in here. Ace-Jack again. This time it's Goof 118. Jamming from the small blind. He's got a lot more strength behind him than he thinks, though.
Yeah, right here, the ace-queen should be a pretty easy call in the blind, so you don't get much better spot. But it's whether you want to gamble your tournament life on it or not.
Yeah, a bit of talk at the table here and some movement in his chair from Goof. Good luck if you call, he says. When someone's talking to you in that spot, does it normally figure that they don't really want the action or that they do have the hand?
I think when it's this sort of situation and it's just a cold jam, it really doesn't matter what they say to me. I just try and ignore it and work out how much the bet size is, what their range is, and whether I should be calling in this position.
Speaking of which, the money goes in. Spica looks him up. Well, and once again, we've got a PKR Live final tableist who's going to be praying for a jack. Clubs would do it for Goof as well. Well, 2 of those clubs do appear on the flop. 226,000 chips in this pot. It's not a small one. Oh, there's the 3rd club. Spica drawing dead on the river. Ace comes out for good measure. Doesn't make any difference. Well, and that is a cold shot for Spica. He leaves the table in 8th place.
Specca from the Netherlands. Wow, you've had such an interesting game. I was watching you earlier on today. You've had some pretty incredible hands, haven't you? You got so low at one point.
Yeah, at one point with the last 15 players, I had 8,000 left or something.
Yeah.
Came back to 100,000, but yeah, it's all for nothing.
Yeah. Oh, no, not for nothing. You've done brilliantly. You made it all the way to the final table. You didn't go out first on the final table.
Okay.
Got to feel good about that. And you've had a pretty good journey. I think you should be very proud of yourself.
Oh yeah, of course. But if once you're here and you got ace jack versus ace queen, you hope.
I know, yeah. And once you're there, you're going for the top spot, aren't you? You're wanting to go for first. There's a huge difference in.
Then everything's possible. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Do you want to tell us what just happened then in the last hand?
He shoved from the small blind with ace jack suited. I found ace queen and thought about it. Yeah. Called, and he got his flush.
Pretty painful, huh?
Yeah, a bit.
But well done. You've done a great job here. You've been really interesting to watch. It's been great following you. Get yourself a well-earned drink, okay?
Yeah, I will. More than one.
Thanks a lot. Thanks. Take care, hon. Bye.
Well, that was Do you think that should speak up at all, Dan?
I have no idea. Good luck to Chloe, I say. Desperately trying to drag his mood up, but, you know, it's all for nothing. Oh, dear, oh, dear. I mean, you know, we've all been there right near the end, just when it needs to go right, and it's a kind of reasonably sick beat, isn't it, James?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, he got it in good, 70% and lost. Maybe if things were different, if he won that, maybe he would have gone a lot further, but hey, he's taken down $1,400.
Well, and does Popeye fold his ace? Sorry, James. Does Popeye fold his ace-jack pre-flop here?
Well, he must just be thinking, don't show me a jack when he squeezes an ace. But no, you've still got to be thinking that it's good there. And although he's against ace-queen again in this setup hand, you've got to be making the correct move every time, regardless of what's happened previously.
Well, ace-jack has actually cracked ace-queen twice now. Sorry. I won't say 3 until this hand's over.
Yeah, ace-queen is Phil Ivey's bogey hand from his days at the WPT. But ace-jack is the new bogey hand here. We haven't seen much of the Frenchman, Popey.
No, PKR Tournament TV regular. Been quiet on this final table so far. Dealer's just sorting everybody's chips out.
Now for the price he's getting, I think Popeye 777 should really be making this call, but it's still quite tough when you've got to put the chips over when you know that you might be behind.
Yeah, and looking at his body language, he kind of recoiled from the table. He's not particularly happy. I guess Wizard he's got down as a pretty solid character too.
Yeah, that's right. At the end of the day, ace-jack's not really ahead of... It's not dominating many hands, and the best you can hope for is a flip, or perhaps against something like king-queen. But the most likely scenario is that you are dominated.
I mean, even so, you know, these situations arise where even if he shows you his cards and he's got ace-queen, I mean, can you really afford to leave your children out there?
That's it. I mean, it's all well and good to seeing the cards. We can see the cards and know the exact correct decision to make. But you've got to gamble in this spot. You've really got to try and aim for first rather than just climbing up the money ladder at the moment.
And I mean, who knows what he's going to be left with. If he folds here and he's got to get it in with, like, I don't know, 9-10 in a few rounds time, you know.
Well, he makes the call. And we're going to have our third ace-jack, ace-queen showdown. Popeye shaking his head. Wizard acknowledging the poor record of ace-queen at this table so far.
Well, he was the beneficiary just a while ago when he got it in with ace-jack against Mikey. So if there's justice, he knows he's being crippled here. Well, there is no justice.
Well, there's one heart. There's a bit of hope alive for Popeye.
There you go.
And it's all over. Popeye drawing dead on the river. And convenient little double up there for Wizard, Dan.
Yeah, that's a second double up, you know. He came in short. He got it in behind with ace-jack, doubled up. Now gets it in ahead with ace-queen, doubles up.
Yeah, as we were saying earlier, basically, you know, a chip in a chair. It doesn't matter how much you've got when you come into the final table. All you need is just a couple of double ups, just a little bit of luck, and then you're back with a decent stack to take on the rest of the players properly.
Well, I think Popey is one man who, that would be music to his ears, really. He's just, I think, got a handful of chips left, and it does seem like a long way back, but, you know, it ain't. Definitely ain't.
All blinds at 5,000, 10,000 now. Popey with pocket eights. Is he gonna? Yes, he is. Straight into the middle. Is that tilty, or does he want people to think it's tilty?
I think in that spot, it doesn't matter whether he wants people to think he's tilty or whether he actually is tilty. He's always going to be all in there anyway, so there's nothing he can really do. Some people will think he's tilting, others won't. There's nothing he can really do about that.
The all-in is 52,000. Just 5 big blinds left in front of Popey.
He would definitely love a fold round. It's just easy money right there without taking a flip. But he's not going to be in bad shape against a lot of anyone else's range, so he's going to be quite happy either way, whether he gets called or not.
No, not a lot of strength at that table right now. Of course, Gab doesn't always need to be strong.
Yeah, I think with Gab, though, you know, he's one of those players who's he's kind of super aggressive when he's pushing it, but I wouldn't imagine he's just going to be calling off stuff. Looks like this is going to get through.
Well, JJ Bird decides to put in the extra 42 grand. Popey won't mind this too much, will he?
No, absolutely not. I mean, he's in great shape against the King 7 there, and he's also getting the money from the small blind in too. So it's going to be a nice little double up for him if he can hold.
Yeah, this is more than a double up, certainly, and somewhat of a surprise for Jamie to call it, but he spikes.
Well, and all Popey can do is shake his head. He's staying in his seat though. 2 pair now. Huge round of applause there for Popey, and why not? He's a very popular player at PKR Live.
Popey is our 8th place finisher. I'm going to have to speak French to him. Popey, grand dommage, mon pote. Great shame, my friend.
Bah ouais, j'ai pas eu de jeu depuis ce matin, pas trop de jeu. Là, j'ai As-Valet, je relance, je paye. As-Dame, je déstack, j'ai plus de 15 000. Derrière, je touche paire d'As. Voilà, je paye, je gagne, je remonte la paire de 8. Je suis obligé de faire taper, je suis short stack. Roi 7, il me paye, il fait 2 paires Roi 7. Voilà.
I'm having trouble understanding that, but I think he said pocket 8s just weren't good enough. It was a shame, and I had to pay the guy off, and that's it for me. Le problème, c'était le Ace-Jack contre Ace-Queen. Tell me about that hand. Ace-Jack, Ace-Queen.
Ouais, c'était une main moyenne, mais c'est ma meilleure main que j'ai touchée aujourd'hui. Donc je suis obligé plus que... je suis short stack, je relance, il me met tapis. Je sais que je suis derrière, il y a de grandes chances que je suis derrière, mais bon, je suis obligé de coller.
With the Ace-Jack, it was a move he felt he had to make. It was like he hadn't been getting any cards, and Ace-Jack was the best hand he'd seen all day, but obviously he just ran into a better hand. The problem, though, was after that you found yourself with aces, so you would have ended up with the chips because the guy before you opened shoved. Le problème, c'était après, tu avais aces, tu n'as plus de chips.
Voilà, c'est ça le problème. C'est le jeu, quoi. Je suis As-Valet, je suis obligé de le jouer parce que j'ai pas de jeu et je perds et derrière il me tombe les As et voilà, je suis dégoûté, quoi.
Yeah, he says he knew he was behind with Ace-Jack, but still felt it was the right thing to do. But of course, very, very frustrating for him to get aces afterwards. How was it though at that table? What's the atmosphere like? C'était comment à la table? L'atmosphère, c'est comment?
Bah, c'était sympa. Ça joue bien, mais bon. C'est une bonne ambiance, c'est des bons joueurs qui a à la table finale et voilà, c'était une bonne table et je suis content de l'avoir joué, c'était bien.
Yeah, he really likes it. Really good atmosphere, really friendly, likes all the other players and thinks they're damn good players as well. And for you, sadly, not first place, but who do you think is going to take this one down? Pour toi, tu n'as pas gagné, pourtant, qui est-ce que tu penses gagnera?
Donnie Jack Mala is a very good player. Je pense qu'il peut gagner.
Okay, good stuff. I think we all understood that, and I think you'll understand me saying, unlucky, pal. Better luck next time, put it there. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Well, Popey reminding me a little bit of Guy Carbonneau there in the interview, and Ash reminding me a bit of Dick Irvin. How's about that translation job, Dan?
I think I might love Monsieur Ashley Hames more than life itself. Oh my word. I'm going to learn French and only speak French from now on, just so that he can interview me in French.
The multi-talented Mr. Hames. Talent's wasted, really, at PKR Live. He should be at the UN.
He should be at a cheese shop.
Well, back to the action, folks. 7 players left. Sorry, 6 players on the table.
31.
And a dealer.
And here we're seeing Donnie Jack Millar making a nice little raise with 7-9 suited. It's a great hand to raise with, because you're not going to get too committed if someone 3-bets. And you're also going to see a nice flop a lot of the time there.
And I tell you what, now that the stacks are polarized a bit and we've got some of the bigger stacks happy and we've busted some of these shorties, now we're going to get some really fascinating play. And these two are going to clash, and this is going to be the battle that really decides this tournament for me.
Yeah, that's it. Donnie definitely knows how to play aggressive post-flop poker. And Gab, we've seen, is not scared to make moves at any point in the hand.
Well, and his move here is a bit of a slow play with a check, having flopped top pair. $20,000 going to the winner of this tournament. Oh, and look at that, second 9 for Donnie.
Well, the sneaky check behind from Donnie. Are you a little surprised that he didn't fire at that? I mean,
no, I like this. I like this a lot. The flop's pretty scary. There are quite a few draws out there where he could find people check raising him, and so I think it's good. Checking back with second pair is quite strong there, and he's in position. He's gonna get all the information he needs on the turn when someone else fires out into him, or indeed checks into him, and he knows he's got the best hand.
Well, Gab has fired right on cue. 40,000 into the pot, making it 94 grand.
And now if Donnie raises here, is it less believable? Is it going to make life difficult for Gab?
I think with Gab's hand, he's going to find it hard to let go. But if I were Donnie there, I would probably just call. I think Gab's going to be bluffing a lot more than he is betting with a good hand. So I think I'd just trap him down here with the trips.
Well, Donnie playing it to perfection. Has another look at his hand.
The rest of these guys are really happy to sit back and let these kind of two Goliaths at the table go at it. I think they're probably pretty relieved they're not in the middle of this hand.
Yeah, I think everyone's praying that that one of them busts, just so they've got one chip leader, one table captain, rather than two that are going to be bullying them twice as much.
I raised 50,000 more.
And James, you don't like that, pal, do you?
I'm not a big fan. I don't dislike it.
But does it not give Gab a little bit more rope to hang himself?
It does, but Gab's out of position here, so I think Gab with any sort of hand is not really going to proceed much.
Okay, so with the rest of his range, Donnie's going to lose his customer most of the time.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of Gab's range is going to fold off here.
Well, a bit of an incredulous look from the Hungarian.
I just love the character of these two guys. I've met them in person, and they are a hugely enjoyable pair. One of them, Donnie, is just a classic Italian, outgoing. And Gab, English, not absolutely awesome, so you have to really spend a bit of time with him. But he's got such an entertaining and big love of poker.
And right now we can hear Gab uttering that he thinks Donnie Jack Millar has 8 for the full house, and so this really is one of those points where Donnie could have just trapped him more with the 9 rather than raise. It's going to be an awesome laydown if Gab can make it, but it is a very tough one at the same time.
But the question is, what do you do on the river?
Exactly. If he's thinking ahead, he's going to know that Donnie is going to bet the river as well, so he really has to be thinking bet call and then check call the river. And I don't know whether he wants to do that because it's going to commit a large portion of his stack.
Yeah, he'd much prefer it to be the river right here.
Absolutely.
Wow, and Gab moves in.
Well, and no help on the river for Gab 1988. Huge hand.
That is actually the pot of the tournament so far. I mean, in size.
545,000 chips. Moving away from Gab.
And a misstep from Gab.
I think possibly Gab could have played that differently. I definitely don't think he needed to all in the turn there. He's pushing off any bluff that Jack might do, and he's not going to get called by a worse hand. The only possible hand could be something like King Jack, which would be a really, really loose call. I think he's just pushing out all the value he gets from bluffs.
Well, Gab on the big blind on this hand. You can see his somewhat decimated chip stack in front of him there. Wizard with the ace-king.
You can see Gab's frustration at the end of the table, just tapping the table with his chips. And he's lost that wonderful big smile that he has. And my feeling is he's going to want to be getting it in here pretty sharpish.
Yeah, in the big blind here as well, he's got an ace. And depending on stack sizes, he really should be making the call, be it wrong or right. Or if he can fold it away, then he gets to fight another day.
A little poetry there from James Sudworth. Ace-10 gets out the way. LJF aces with pocket threes. All in. Look at that, 69 grand from LJF aces.
Pocket sixes, watch that. Watch that. Watch this. Good.
Well, another flip. Wizard stands up. Well, big double up there for LJF aces. Heck of a call with pocket threes.
Well, he's got less than 10 bigs there, James, so I figure he looks down at any kind of hand. We know Lee, he's a really decent player, and he's looking at first place.
Yeah, that's right. If he wants to take the gamble there, he's got to realise he's going to be flipping at best, and sometimes he's going to be losing. But if you've got to gamble to get to first place, I'm not sure whether I would have taken the same decision myself. I might have played it on the cautious side, considering I'd only be flipping. But nonetheless, took the gamble and it paid off.
That's right, and it does some real damage to Wizard's stack. And what it did do is ensure that Gab didn't make the call with the ace-deuce, which I think we figure he probably would have done there.
Yeah, that definitely saved Gab's tournament life there. He was always going to be calling with the ace-deuce there, I think, in the big blind.
Well, we saw him show his solitary ace to Goof on his left and laugh as if to say, well, I really wish I was playing this.
There we go, and the 10-8 push there is fairly standard. You need a double up, and you've got fold equity. Unfortunately, he's run into ace-jack.
Well, we've seen the short stack survive worse situations so far. It's a 10 or an 8, does Wizard.
That gives him a few more outs here. And we've got the double gut shot draw.
Unfortunately, it is the king, and folks, we are losing our 7th place finishing. Put your hands together for you.
And a little help for Dan from the table there in his call out. And Wizard going home in 7th place. It's got to be worth a few bucks, Dan.
Yeah, $3,250 for him. Of course, all these guys are looking at 20K up top and a slice of PKR Live history.
It's looking maybe slightly more likely for Gab 1988 now. Look at that. Pocket aces on the button.
You know, we've really got some strong hands here. Lots of paint cards out. And I can't help but feel that Gab's going to get paid off.
Well, Donnie Jack Mala raising out with King 10 suited.
These two guys at it again. I mean, this is perfect, and certainly what the crowd want to see is Gab still in this fight. Looks a lot like Donnie's going to price himself, or has priced himself in to call this shove from Gab.
Re-raised to 84,000, so about double the original bet from Donnie.
Okay, so he's not shoved, he's kind of measured his raise. From another player, you might think that indicates super strength, but from Gab, does it mean anything?
I'm not quite sure at this point. Gab's still got chips behind, so maybe he's trying to induce a shove from Donnie Jack Mala. I think Donnie might be wise to this, and hopefully he can make a fold. I think Gab would have done a better bet just going all in and hoping for the best, but hey, let's see what Donnie does.
Expecting Donnie to find a fold. I'm sorry, James. I thought you were a professional.
Well, at this point, I mean, I don't think Donnie can really put Gab on a weak hand here, and his King 10's going to be crushed a lot. Maybe he's just hoping to hit a nice flop.
Well, not much in it for Donnie. There he is in the striped top. PKR cap and sunglasses, betting out.
It does actually look like Gab has chipped up a few times in one or two of the kind of raise fold hands that we haven't seen. So he has got some playing chips behind. When you said Donnie might be crushed, he surely is now. And of course, a normal human being would just get away from this hand, but Donnie, I fear, is going to try and find a way to win it.
Not with that flop.
Here we see that both of them have got enough back for some post-flop play, so maybe this is what Donnie was thinking. He wasn't playing his hand for the value, he was just trying to see if he could play position well, and now that ace has come, it's a good scare card if Gab's got a high pocket pair that he can get them off. Unfortunately, he does have a high pocket pair, he's not going to get him off it though. Well, here Gab's made a raise here, which is quite strange. I mean, there aren't many hands that Donnie's going to have that are going to pay him off here. I think Gab would have been better just taking his check call line that I thought he was going to do on the flop.
We have seen this with these two guys before, though. They're not calling and playing kind of small ball, controlling pot size and keeping it going to turn and river.
What? Nothing. You call? No. I said I have it. You have 3 aces. I have an ace. Don't believe me. I don't know if I can believe it.
Wow, that's some incredible chat from these two. They really are a pair. Donnie claims he's got an ace, but he asks Gab if he's got 3 aces. Donnie's been raised, and in normal poker terms, this is a straight fold, maybe a bit of TV time to claim that you're folding a difficult hand, but come on.
As we've seen, this is no ordinary player, though. Maybe he thinks he can still get Gab off a hand. Or maybe he thinks that Gab's bluffing and he's going to try and rebluff him.
I mean, these two just give each other zero credit.
This reminds me of a very well-known hand between Paul Action Jack Jackson and Phil Ivey at the Monte Carlo Millions a few years back, when both of them pulled off some sick bluffs in one hand versus each other. But this time, unfortunately, one person does have the nuts.
And this really could be the downfall of Donnie here. I mean, this is a huge pot. This is the decision of his tournament so far.
The bet is 100,000 from Gab.
I think it's going to be quite hard for Donnie to actually decide to make a move here, seeing as he's taken so long. He really doesn't look incredibly strong. And I think I would only ever make a bluff here if I did it fairly quickly. At the moment, everyone's going to think he's got a decision to make whether he calls, not whether he raises.
Well, right on cue. There's the raise from Donnie. Graphic says call, but this is a raise.
You've got to love Gab's face. All the facets, all the muscles above his eyeballs. They tell the story that he's struggling in this hand, but of course we know he's got a huge lock and music to his ears. I mean, James, I know you've said about him perhaps calling and not scaring off his customer once or twice, but it seems like player specific here. If you do play back at Donnie with a monster, you give him tons of rope, and he does like to hang himself.
That's it, and it looks now like he's raised enough to let Gab have a decision. So maybe this was Gab's plan all along, trying to trap Donnie into making a move.
Gab with the stone cold nuts here.
How much do I have left? Re-raise. 40, I should have re-raised another 50. 55 more.
So that's 55,000 more to Don or to Gab.
I'm all in. He's called all in. I fold.
Oh, and he folds instantly.
You have it? Three aces? Oh. Why can't I talk to the media? Oh, fuck me. Without it, I couldn't have done that. Okay.
Wow, and that is just an astonishing hand between these two characters. Donnie furious with himself, but perhaps of his own making.
Great to see those two players lock horns again. Wow, always fascinating. Donnie.
I think maybe Donnie his ego just got a little bit better of him there, and he thought he could outplay him, but unfortunately, he could never outplay the nuts.
Right move, wrong time, maybe?
Absolutely.
And Donnie leaves himself less behind than he did with his final re-raise. I mean, unbelievable that he left himself something behind instead of moving in the other 40K. Really bizarre play, but just makes for great TV.
Well, it's kept him alive for this hand. He's shoved with King 2. Picks up a call from LJF Aces with pocket fours.
And are we about to see the demise of Donnie Jack Marler? He's given us so much pleasure.
Gab's in too with 8-7.
Well, he's got some value.
Yeah, if Donnie can hit a king here, he's right back in it.
I wouldn't put it past Gab to spike a 7 or 8 here. It would be fitting that he's the executioner of Donnie.
Well, he has got a very nice drawing hand. Unfortunately, it doesn't come.
Check, okay, on your backs, please. On your backs. On your backs.
Well, LJF Aces is going to scoop the pot here with pocket 4s. So no help at the end for Donnie Jack Mala, going home in 6th place.
Good game, guys. Ladies and gentlemen, we have lost our 6th place finisher for World Championship in the Italian Stallion. Please put your hands together for Donnie Jack Mala.
Well, great to see that little show of affection there between Gab 1988 and Donnie Jack Mala. We've got a final table down to 5 players now.